How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I've got the mission, well, it's a contract. It's the first contract, I believe, on the Stage 3 contracts, called Service Unavailable. And to complete it, you've got to do, yeah, Stage 3, so yeah, it's the first one. I've not ticked any of the others off. There's like a, I don't know, just say a phone tower or something there. You've got to take a service trailer and 4 lots of metal beams. The service trailer is kind of just to the left of the garage, really. It's near the solar power plant thing we built previously, and then obviously I'm going to head up there, and then I've got to go over to there and grab 4 metal beams that you can just build using the generator and everything. I was planning, basically, as I'm driving along, I was going to drop the trailer off there and then carry on to the warehouse or whatever to get the 4 metal beams. This is like the setup I'm running. I've got the Zikz 605R and a goddamn horse, obviously, and then I bought the Kodiak for this one. I kind of knew I was risking it a little bit, setting it up where, obviously, it's one of the early game trucks. Personally, I don't know, I low-key kind of, I liked this truck and all the rest of it. When I did the review on it, the Kodiak, it was a lot of fun. It was just a good truck, really. Yeah, the grip was decent enough and all the rest of it, so just for the fact that I've used kind of the most obvious vehicles doing the missions. I mean, I've used the Zikz before, but towing 4 metal beams and stuff, I was like, I'm sending at least one decent truck. I kept trying to go through so many different setups. I probably spent, I don't know, I'm not even joking, like 4 or 5 hours sitting here, not literally on the game, sometimes I was, trying to work out, like, right, which setup shall I take? Because, for example, like now, I could have just, say, instead of having the Kodiak, had like the Dolphin with the sideboard or something as the backup truck. But I was trying to find a way where I could kind of do the run in one go. I'd been wanting to do a road train thing. Sadly, for this season or whatever, this phase, this mission's one of the few that is like a bona fide kind of, you got 4 metal beams and stuff, yeah, a road train kind of makes sense. A lot of the other missions are either qualification races and that sort of stuff, or, you know, they're just like one piece of metal beams or something. There's not really, yeah, there's no reason to do a road train for one lot of metal beams. Yeah, and I was trying to work out loads of different setups that I could run. I didn't realise at first that I could get the sideboard bed on the Zikz. Has it always been like that? I think it might have now, but for whatever reason, I just got it kind of muddled up, put it in the same genre as, say, the Clubs, where I know I've had modded versions of that where you can get the sideboard, but it doesn't let you get it normally. So I just assumed the Zikz couldn't have it for whatever reason. I didn't really want to do like the 8-slot trailer, because when I did this mission on the live stream with mods, but I believe I used an 8-slot trailer, it doesn't suit this map at all. There's too many hills, too many tight turns and bumps and brows of hills that the trailer's just going to get caught on. So yeah, I wanted to run some kind of setup where I could have still carry 4 metal beams, do a road train, but I also wanted to winch the trailer, preferably this service trailer I just grabbed. So yeah, I was trying to go through different setups. I was considering using a Bandit as the backup vehicle, not through specifically like, oh yeah, that'll do. It could have a crane, the KRS Bandit crane, which is actually like the best little crane. It's basically the best crane in the game. There's more reach on the bigger cranes, but they're so weak these days that you rarely get to take advantage of that anyway. And it can have a sideboard and a trailer. And I was considering, should I, you know, just run like 3 metal beams with that, try and do a 2-slot trailer in the Zikz or whatever. I was looking at doing the twin steer, the Western Star twin steer or whatever the hell. I just got Fox's twice twin steer, I always call it that these days. But yeah, obviously the non-modded version. That could have been the rear vehicle, as in like I wouldn't need a trailer for the twin steer, and I could put 2 lots of metal beams on it, but I can't attach a trailer to it, which means I couldn't tow the service trailer behind me. And obviously if I'm doing a road train, I'm already winched, so I can't winch the trailer. So yeah, it's just every vehicle I was going through has got one limitation that just was like, nope, can't do that. Like I said, the club can't have a sideboard, and that just limited a lot of things. I'll be honest, I used the club a week or two ago on this map. I really like the club, the flat face one. Even the long nose one, I don't really use that a lot because it's just diffs always on the flat face one. But and it's got like a bigger roof that I can just put a loaf on. But yeah, no sideboard. And when I used it in this map the other week, it was pretty terrible. I don't know why, because yeah, club's usually an absolute unit, but it wasn't enjoying it. And yeah, eventually, I think I found another Zikz in my garage. Oh, in fact, no, I didn't. I went onto the store, truck store, and I was just scrolling that way instead of looking through my own vehicles, because I've bought so bloody many these days. Instead of finding where I've left the last one, I just go and buy another one. So yeah, I went into the store and was just looking at each vehicle to plan in my head, right, what can I do with that, what can't I do with that. And in the end, if you go onto a vehicle and press square, you can preview the vehicle, and then you can go into the menu and add, like, it won't literally let you add it, but you can go and look what tyres it's got, what winches it's got, what frame add-ons it's got, etc. And then when I looked, I was saying, oh, I can get a sideboard with the Zikz. So that now solved, basically, what I didn't want to do was have, say you got like the Kodiak, I didn't want to have a 4-slot ramped flatbed behind that, because while I'm towing it, or I didn't even want a 4-slot ramped flatbed between the Zikz and, say, the Kodiak in this case, just because as soon as you go around a corner, the tension of the winch, most things, the tension can help, but the 4-slot ramped flatbed just tips so easily that anything beyond a straight line, especially in a road train situation, or unless you're on absolute flat ground, maybe if you were turning a corner on like Lake Covd on the ice, you might get away with it. But yeah, I already knew it was going to set me up, and that's where, once I was able to put the sideboard on the Zikz, it was cool, because then I knew, I've got no trailers at the minute, but obviously where I'm going for the 4 metal beams, there's a trailer store there as well, so I can get two 2-slot trailers. Not even the one with the double axles and the posts on the side, just a light one. I didn't want to get heavy trailers if I could help it. Yeah, so I can carry, say, 2 metal beams in the Zikz, 2 metal beams in the Kodiak, and then road train them like this. And I believe, in fact, funnily enough, it's right now, I was supposed to do this, I just completely forgot. I even predicted that I was going to forget when I started it. I really could do with disconnecting the that service trailer off the Kodiak now, because essentially where I've got to deliver it is further up that river. But yeah, by the time I got here, I was just distracted, enjoying myself. The loaf, he's sat on the top, he's leading the way, and it was yeah, it was going well. So I'm only mentioning that now, like obviously I take a little bit extra time just to bring the service trailer back a bit more, but yeah, that'd be my advice. Just disconnect it there, and then at least it is, I mean, it's a minute or two away from where you got to drop it off by that point. And then here, as you can see, instead of going around that road, it wouldn't have mattered too much, but usually you can go this way and just cut the entire corner. I know it looks a bit mad. I was seeing there if it was going to make the loaf auto unpack, like if you reach a certain angle, it doesn't matter if your truck is perfectly fine and was not going to tip, it'll just automatically disconnect it, but it didn't. So yeah, as soon as I got down the little hill, dropped the hammer. I'm sure the back end come out pretty quick at some point. Was it there? Yeah. Just had to feather the throttle a little bit. Yeah, it sort of didn't kick out, like understeered and then completely oversteered. Although all this terrain here, will sort of get into that a bit later, but it's a little bit more OP than its looks would suggest. But again, yeah, for this, I like doing my road trains in this game. Just more for the challenge, plus it's more, I want to see how much I could do in one run. So again, it's like with the loafs on board, there's fuel, spares and repairs, an extra life in case if you tip over. There's a bloody extremely high chance the loaf isn't also going to be tipped over. It can happen. I mean, I've said it, it's like put an autonomous winch on the loaf if you just want absolute 100% guaranteed, but I often do risk it with the advanced because he's so good at not landing on his wheels, or even if he doesn't land on his wheels, like now, if the loaf fell off and landed sideways, I'll just flip it back with the Zikz. I wouldn't count that as like a fail, because the Zikz could just as easily tip, the loaf will save that, and then 2 minutes later the loaf could tip, but because it rescued the Zikz before it tipped, the Zikz can now tip it back and blah blah blah. So yeah, that's a 100% rescue record is still intact as far as like I've never had to like leave the area. Say for example when you select change vehicle, something's always near enough that on the rare occasion it happens I can do it that way. But yeah, I've never had to like travel back to the garage and go, right, I'll just bring this rescue vehicle. I have on other stuff obviously when I've not taken a goddamn horse on me. And yeah, so I just like fitting as much as I can. That's what she said, of course. And getting as much as I can done in one run, just to see how much I can push my luck, really. So, I mean, this mission would be a walk in the park if I just did 2 runs in Zikz or whatever, or got 2 Zikzes, and yeah. And to be fair, the road train, in certain situations, if you're going down like a road, it's annoying how it forces you to go slightly slower than the high gears do, and then it makes your high gear a little bit weak. But in this kind of map, this sort of terrain, etc, etc, it's never really an issue. I'm in auto or high gear. The Kodiak's following along. The reason I picked something like the Kodiak, I was going to get the Steptoe or whatever, Step 310, whatever it's called, because I wanted a vehicle that weighed nothing, basically, or as near to nothing as possible. I remember the Steptoe being like, sticks in my head as an extremely lightweight vehicle. But yeah, even stuff like the Kodiak, I could be wrong, but I believe the front floats. I think it does a little bit like the Voron does, but the Voron crosses the water the way it does with its head sticking out the water. Way better than any other truck, really. There's a few that have given it a go. There's been some good ones, but yeah, the Voron Grad, sorry, is the that is like the daddy of the front floats, so it keeps its snorkel out the water, and it's like tiptoeing with its back axles on the seabed. And yeah, you can cross some pretty deep water that way. So, there's a couple of editing bits here, because I wanted to get the video at least under 40 minutes. And yeah, yesterday, again, I suppose a lot of it was just burnt, like trying to work out which vehicle I'm going to use and all the rest of it. And then by the time I got the footage, I turned the game off, went on to Share Factory to start editing it. I edited it for, I don't know, 5 minutes worth of editing. And then I just looked at my phone, seen the time, and I was like, oh shit, it's like 12 PM basically. Normally I'd have the video uploaded like preferably a couple of hours before that, and it was like, yeah, by the time I've edited it, voiced it, then rendered it, and then uploaded it, it would have been 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Most people by then would rightly assume I've probably just missed a video for today, and then yeah, they'd probably come back, you know, today and so on. So I just thought I'll give myself more time instead of trying to rush it. I'll skip it. The other thing is it's bloody hot here again. We've got another good old heat wave. It's probably worse than the other week because it feels more humid this time, so it's an absolute killer, even at like 3 in the morning. So when I got here at this point, I'd already planned this. I don't like to if I can help it, but I already knew I was going to get the loaf out. I didn't technically, I mean, 1 goddamn horse is enough, but, you know, not got any excuse to bring more. I knew this was going to happen, by the way. Been here 100 times, especially on a flat yard. I knew I was going to tip because his wheel was going to hook on the sideboard, but in fact, yeah, well, there you go. Here's a good example. Like, you just flip it back. But what I like about the loaf, instead of just flipping, did a handstand, bounces off there, and now I don't have to move to select a trailer. I mean, what a goddamn professional. He got out of the way just enough that it didn't moan and say there's something blocking, you know, like you can't spawn a trailer, basically. So, goodbye my loaf, we're off. That's 1 loaf. Well, who knows? He may even make an appearance later on. See a couple more goddamn professionals scatter around the yard. Yeah, get them 2 metal beams. A bit of the editing, by the way. I turned the generator trailer on. I can't remember if I even left the footage of that in, but I got a fuel trailer quickly, refilled it, because believe it was 250 litres per, like, to build each metal beams. So yeah, 1,000 litres, and the generator holds 1,500, so the chances are by now you're going to have to top it up. I still kind of like that we can just... You've got a generator there, they've put a trailer store there, so again, to refill it with fuel is just a... It's a 30-second thing you've got to do, but cool, I'll take that. That's what she said. Yeah, it's... And then I can just build every material on the game. I'll admit, in perspective of like this phase 7 or whatever has not got a lot of stuff on it, they could have theoretically placed 1 or 2 more warehouses and made you have to do a bit more of a lap and whatever, but I don't know, in the scheme of things it's quite nice just to drive to not the same place as such, but again, even if they had 3 different warehouses and you could build all materials at each one, I'd probably pick different warehouses each time just to mix it up for the videos and stuff. And for myself, even if I wasn't making the videos. But yeah, it's quite handy, if you know what I mean, that you can just build what you need, really. It kind of takes... Yeah, you're not really like cargo admin runner, it's just... You go to where you're going to get your cargo. The whole point is the journey there and back. It's sort of irrelevant now if I've got metal beams. It wouldn't matter if it was 4 metal beams at this point, or, I don't know, 8 service spare parts sort of thing. It doesn't make the world of difference. It's just an excuse to have to move that much stuff, and then how you're going to set up the mission to do it, and all sorts. And again, yeah, I'd recommend the Zikz definitely for this one. Just because once I know I've got all this sort of stuff built up, a lot of weight you're towing, especially, I will say, the metal beams tend to be fairly heavy cargo. I can't guarantee if you added 2 service spare parts together, maybe it'll weigh the same. I don't know. They're obviously 2-slot cargo, not 1 slot. But yeah, I know the cranes struggle a lot with metal beams. And in the end, I kind of sacrificed a crane. Obviously, I can't get one on the Zikz. I may have been able to fit one on the Kodiak, actually, because its rear of its chassis, actually, is pretty long. It kind of sticks out quite far beyond the rear axle. So maybe that could fit a crane, but I wouldn't... I don't know, I don't really trust the little cranes anyway. It'd probably make a fairly light vehicle like the Kodiak quite tippy. Yeah, so I just took that chance, but because I didn't have to now use a 4-slot ramped flatbed, I knew I could risk not taking a crane, basically. Thumbnails for days, I'll probably... It's not got it at the minute, but I will probably add some writing to that one. This goddamn horse. He always knows, he never forgets them thumbnail shots. So, and at this point, I'd say things are looking... pretty good, gone pretty smoothly. I've basically got to drive... I just passed the trailer, by the way, on the other side of that bridge, the service trailer. Again, I should have dropped it off kind of where I'm heading now, so I created an extra step for myself by forgetting to do that. But yeah, apart from that, things are looking pretty good. Like I said, this terrain here, it just looks like a dirt, maybe a little patch of mud, but they've clearly coded it like it pretty much never. Maybe I'm out of first gear if I was already out of first gear, but you can see like there's pretty severe rev caps along here. It basically forces you to stay in like first gear the vast majority of the time, I'm sure. Yeah, I absolutely mashed the hell out of L1. You'll see it just probably not now because I'm in the in the low ranges, but normally, yeah, I'm absolutely mashing that thing. I want it to jump into second. But again, the Zikz, it's got enough weight, the tyres are decent, they're like custom tyres. Even if they were just muds, it'd probably be ballpark similar at the minute, just because, again, it's such a nice weighty vehicle that the heavier the vehicles in this game, they generate their own grip. So that's why stuff like the Steptoe would do terrible in deep mud or snow, like super snow and all that, because it's just not got enough weight to punch through the surface layer and find the grip underneath it. And that's hence why the P16, I nearly earlier, you know, before I got this footage yesterday, I drove from the garage to the or maybe not quite the warehouse. I drove around in the P16 though. Just I like that vehicle. I was considering using it for this because, like I said, it's so much weight. It generates its own grip, and it works a lot better than a lot of people would think, me included. Especially when you get used to the fact that vehicles without all-wheel drive, whatever, are pretty terrible in this game. But yeah, the P16 is kind of an exception because it's so heavy and how much grip it creates, and it's got its own custom tyres. Yeah, it's good, but I already knew it'd be a little bit of a bad fit for this map, because if you on funny angles and you're tipping left and right and all sorts, it doesn't take much to cock one side of your truck wheels up, and if you do that, like up in the air, I mean, if you do that on the P16, obviously you've just lifted like half your tyres off, but even the tyres that are still connected to the ground are like on a diagonal angle. You got like the edge of them for grip, and yeah, so I skipped it in the end. I thought I'd be making extra hassle for myself, and for this mission I kind of had a feeling that, you know, it wasn't going to be just summed up in like a 20-minute quick fly there and back, so hence why the something like the Zikz got the lead vehicle. Well, Zikz and Lo4f, of course. Got to take the goddamn horse with you. You never know. And then back there a little bit as well while I was yapping away. And going around the corner, I could already see it was going to happen. It's basically, it would have been an amplified version of that if I brought the 4 slot. It was going to tip my trailer, and again, because I didn't bring a crane, whilst I was winched to the Kodiak, like the tension between my trailer and the Kodiak, just, yeah, it wants to pull everything straight, but some trailers just scoot over. Obviously, like something that's attached to your saddle will just scoot over, unless it's going to tip your entire truck as well. But yeah, these trailers, they're just, I like the fact that these ones weigh nothing versus the other 2 slot weigh a lot. Good for different situations, but on this one I wanted less weight as possible. Just as I was going past there, touched it a tiny little bit and it tipped over. That's how I don't know, yeah, awkward those trailers can be. So like I said, I disconnect the road train. I just did the last little bit of the journey, or at least that river bit, with the Zikz alone. It didn't really matter. Knowing what I know now, I should have disconnected the Zikz on the other side of this bridge, because, as I said, I forgot to disconnect the service trailer earlier, so I'm going back now just to grab that quickly. And my plan at this point was to, once I get the service trailer back over to where I've just left that 2 slot with the metal beams in, attach the metal beams and that to my truck, and then winch the service trailer behind it. And you can see at the minute the Kodiak its speed's alright. It's yeah, it was all, like, for an early game truck, it's not bad. It's only got 1 rear axle, so you've got to bear in mind I know they're double axle, double wheels or whatever, but yeah, you've got 4 points of grip, not 6, like you get in a Tega and yeah, all the 6-wheel vehicles. But you'll see now when I get across this bridge, this terrain here that's been like extra boosted to be a bit crazy. Funnily enough now though, notice my fuel was low. I forgot to fill this up with fuel when I was in the yard, like the warehouse, getting the metal beams, but goddamn horse of a vehicle weeks ago, he strategically placed a scout fuel trailer just there that I could still reach with my winch, so drag that a little bit closer, refuel up, and we're good to go. See? Never fails to plan ahead. He knows what he's doing. And yeah, you can see now, it just, if I, say forgetting the fuel thing, if I was flying across the bridge in high gear and I had a bit of a run up, I'm sure I could have easily got, say, to around here, but I don't really don't think, in this truck at least, I would have had enough momentum. Oh, that's what it's like. I say this truck at least, I agree with that statement, but I feel like it's the terrain that's, they've just gone so crazy with like nerf and everything. They've done it so that the Zikz will go slow through here, if you know what I mean. So this thing, an early game truck, kind of doesn't really have much of a chance. And I'm using was it the off-roads number 2 or whatever? I don't really know with the numbers like that. Normally I would go for the chained, but some people have recommended these tyres. I've been trying them out. I can't 100% say worse or better, because obviously they've clearly coded this map different to various others, like they keep doing with Super Snow, Super Mud, Death Snow, and Death Mud, and so on. But if I could just, you know, go into my menu and switch to chain tyres now, I'd be curious to see if it would have got through there any better. And that time, it was a pretty smooth run there. It didn't really go that badly. I had to fling a few winches out. Part of the issue, which I've got sort of a better example of a little bit later, when I was putting it particularly into the low gears and the diffs on, half the time there literally isn't enough power to spin the rear axle. So it's like, well, it's physically impossible to go anywhere, basically, unless the front's going to pull so hard it's going to drag the rear axle. But yeah, it looks almost as if like the handbrake nails will be on. And then now at this point, I just wanted to squeeze past the trailer, but it kept catching. It was tipping the metal beams. So I made the choice and just quit and reload, which not only I didn't need to, but as you'll see coming up pretty soon, I already had my plan B. But yeah, it wasn't really bothering me. I did the quit and reload, just like, yeah, fuck you trailer, I'm going to quit and reload, and then you won't be tipped as much. But as you can see, the second time through here was struggling a lot more, really, trying to find winch points, and then I tipped, so I quit and reload again. Yeah, goddamn horse. Why did I leave him at the warehouse when he's always a beast? So it just kind of shows you the difference. Well, long story short, in this sense, he's a mobile winch point. There was no good winch points. I winched to a tree off to the left, I believe, or right, to, you know, it wasn't pulling the Kodiak forwards, it was kind of pulling it on an angle, and hence why I flipped the truck. Yeah, the Lo4f I could put in front of me, fire a winch. I have to really be in the Kodiak, because if I'm in the Lo4f, it makes the Kodiak go diffs off, you know, it's just gutless. Whereas the Lo4f is a goddamn unit, it's a goddamn horse. When I'm in the Kodiak and I winch to the Lo4f, he's always got his diffs on, all-wheel drive, plenty of power. It's not like ridiculous on the rev caps or anything. So yeah, I did it that way around, and then if I want, can either go low range diffs on, or I'm in auto, but at least I'm doing the throttle, and the game's not like, I don't know, gives you like 20% throttle and then cuts it out every 2 seconds. So yeah, goddamn horse again, flip this trailer. That's why I didn't need to quit and reload. The first time I should have just gone back and got the bloody Lo4f. I knew it, I said it to myself before I quit and reloaded, but yeah, it is what it is. So now I'm stuck on a twig, a super twig. This game goes way over the top with how resistant a twig is. And can you see now, because I'm in the Lo4f towing to the Kodiak, it's more gutless. If I'd switched it there, it would have been instant, but the Lo4f is still a goddamn beast. So I'm trying to pull the Kodiak, like snag it off just OP tree branches, basically. And zip the old Lo4f out of the way. Well, wishful thinking at this point, I'd say that much. I was hoping, yeah, I'll move the Lo4f out of the way, get the trailer connected up, pack the cargo, or sorry, unpack and pack, stick a winch on the service trailer, and yeah, I was like, oh, I'll run this little setup and catch back up to my Zikz. Hence why, what I would say now is I would have ran the Dolphin as this secondary vehicle, because I don't think it would have made a hell of a difference with the Zikz when it's towing behind me, because the engine's on and blah 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 anyway. But yeah, now the Dolphin, for example, would have done a hell of a lot better than this. So would many of other things. I could have brought, you know, the Taiga. It's an early game truck, but can you see now I'm revving it, and the tyres are just sat there. This is at this point, I was just like, ugh, yeah, I'll put the remote down for 5 minutes. When I made a coffee, I knew it was like, great, I'm in for the long haul on this one. Yeah, this is just going to be like a fiddly pain in the arse instead of just being able to drive. So again, stuck the Lo4f in front, fling a winch to it, and yeah, things are working, going nicely. Started leaning there a bit, but yeah, it's not the Lo4f's fault, it's the corner. So there's the bit where I normally cut through, but it's not, it wouldn't really work going that way. They've put like a big, if that rock to the right of my truck now was not there, that'd be a viable way. But they've kind of... It's alright going downhill, because, yeah, downhill with the wind behind you, gravity's in your favour and all the rest of it. Going the other way, it's not really worth it, certainly not with cargo. And I certainly, considering how much this thing's struggling here, I wouldn't fancy its chances of climbing up over that rock. Little edits here, the loaf almost tipped. I was just editing because I wanted it down to under 40 minutes, and some footage had to get sacrificed. But it was pretty non-eventful. I just fired a winch out. Yeah, it was a goddamn horse, and then I drove forward and parked him up there. See, the revs are working fine at the minute. I have revs, so even though I'm fighting it, that's cool. Like, it's an early game truck. I knew it wasn't going to be an absolute breeze for it, but there's certain parts of the map again where it'll just hit in and it won't... The wheels won't spin, at which point it's like, well, I can't do a lot if the game's not giving me... And it's weird, because I even went into like the in-cab view and looking at the revs. I'm calling it the revs are lying, because it said it was revving up to like 2,500, 3,000. There's no way. It couldn't have, because the wheels weren't spinning. So, yeah. I've said it before, that it was John I noticed it on like 2 years ago. The engine sounded like it had revved up to full revs, but I was watching the speedo. So the noise the engine makes, most of the time it is correct, but it's not 100%. So now, this is where I'm looking at, like, I'm in low gear now, revving it, and it's climbing up. I'm telling you, it wasn't doing that. But what I noticed that was funny, it sounds like some tin hat shit, is it wouldn't move the wheels, but when I went on the interior view to spy on the rev counter, suddenly I start moving forward and the wheels were spinning again. And again, I know this isn't the case, but it's almost as if they'd programmed it to be like, oh shit, he's onto us. Act normal. Yeah, now look, it's revving right. Is like, no way on earth do I have that many revs. I'm sat still and I can't move. You have to just keep steering really hard left, really hard right, and every now and then it gives you like a little boost. But you can see there, the wheels, they're not wheel spinning, they're not juddering like they're trying to go forward, they're just chilling out. They've decided that revs ain't for them. Even though it's bloody hot, still can't resist a nice hot coffee. And I'm sure at this point as well, somewhere, it basically did the same thing. Maybe I'll save the footage there because there isn't an edit there. Yeah, now flooring it. Look, the wheels are just the rear ones, particularly. And then every now and then you get a little wheel spin and then it moves. So that's why I low-key like this vehicle. I know it wasn't going to be an absolute hauling beast, and to be fair, I've got 2 lots of metal beams, a trailer, and I was trying to winch a service trailer at one point. So I was pushing my luck. I get that, but yeah, I also feel this truck kind of got hard done by on this mission map, because it's not really its fault if the game's going to just decide that it can't move its wheels. That's just an automatic guaranteed you're fucked. There's not a lot you can do. Again, how many times does he have to save the day per mission? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Get yourself a loaf. He's got goddamn beast. Yeah, I could have just disconnected the Kodiak, zipped back down and got this trailer, but I don't know. Just for the fun of it, I was trying to move that sign out of the way and that cone, so you can scare stuff with the old loaf horn. Get here, the trailer decides to snag on the back, keep it pinned with a loaf, turn the steering, he scoots around. I was like, no, you don't accept them kind of failures, not with the goddamn horse. And then, whilst the Zikz was sat here, the loaf, you can see on the roof, has moved around a bit. It's not just the loaf, it does this with cargo, it does it when you load stuff on trailers. It's such a tiny little bug, but it's been in the game for God knows 6 months, a year now. I wish they'd fix it. It affects me a lot more because I have an obsession with sticking loafs on everything, and that's fair enough. But again, I've done it with, like, I don't know, the Western Star 49X thing, a forklift, loafs, other scouts, various trucks, the steptoe, loading them onto trailers, and you pack them, and then basically it's when you move the vehicle when you're not in it. So if you attach a winch to it or you bump into it, your vehicle will move, but everything that's packed is like locked in space and time so it just won't move. So if you bump the Zikz forward, or in this case it looks like the Zikz might have rolled back down the river, you know, a quarter of a loaf length, but the loaf is locked in space so that it's just like the Zikz is sliding out from underneath the loaf, even though it's packed, and they should be locked together. And then, yeah, at this point though, got to the river, got my road train set back up. I know I've had to leave see where I just brought the service trailer with the loaf, that's where I was supposed to leave it originally, so I wouldn't have had to have turned around with the Kodiak, and then I ended up getting caught up in all that boggy mess. I tipped the trailer, I had to quit and reload. Something as simple as forgetting to disconnect that trailer where I did, I made loads more work for myself, and obviously I've edited a lot of it out, but I wanted to specifically leave a fair chunk of the Kodiak footage in, because I wanted to talk about like the rev caps and all that stuff. But yeah, I could have avoided a hell of a lot of that. I don't know why I was just chilling there for a few seconds. Yeah, haul everything up, road train up to here, drop the 2 lots of metal beams off. Bear in mind, obviously, there's only this square to load everything into. You need room, so obviously don't park in the middle of the square. Now I've got to fit the Kodiak in, but then now I already know I've got to go and get the service trailer as well, so I could do with, like, yeah, moving this trailer out the way. I could delete the trailer at this point. I'm not going to, but they will henceforth be abandoned there, basically. There's a extremely slim to 0 chance I'm ever going to recover these trailers. It's funny, I remember like 2 odd years ago, probably a year and a half ago, when I think I'd been flying scout fuel trailers off the White Valley Mountain, like flying kites. And I remember saying, like, I'm sort of an OCD's worst nightmare as far as scattering trailers all over the place goes, and I said at the time if I could delete the trailers I would, but I can't, and I just haven't got time to keep taking them all back. And then, yeah, when they added the option to delete trailers, I've maybe deleted 4 in my entire gaming on this game. I rarely, if ever, I reluctantly delete them. But by the time they added the option to delete them, I've grown accustomed to not just the amount of trailers I'd scattered around, but I used to have loads of trailers. Well, still, I have again. I've rebuilt the pile at Quarry doing the review videos, and obviously at some point I got a bit of a big glitch during an update, and it deleted all the trailers, stole a Voron Grad off me, I think it deleted a Freightliner as well. I didn't enjoy the Freightliner at the time that much, so I didn't even notice for bloody ages until I went to find it, and I was like, well, I know I owned one. Even in the truck store it says I own one, and it was gone. I was like, sons of bitches, they must have took it when that happened. Yeah, so now I like to leave stuff all over the place. There's a little bit of bait, a little test to see when maps update. I've got stuff scattered on every map. Maps that I didn't have stuff on, I specifically drove scout vehicles. There's like Flooded Foothills, I've got a Scout 800 just abandoned in the water. That was there on purpose, specifically for that reason, that when I update the game I can go to Flooded Foothills. Is the Scout still there? Are trailers still scattered around the map? So every time I update I tend to go and check, and if ever anything's missing, it might be too late, but it's one of them. You know, I can at least hopefully bang a video out and just say either hold your horses on updating, or at the very least don't let it update the game, go into your game, recover everything, save it, whatever, back out the game, let it update, and then at least it's not going to steal everything. Like the Voron Grad, I could have just recovered that back to Zimnogorsk or whatever, and then updated, then I wouldn't have lost it, because it was just left out on the map, it did. Yeah, got the service trailer up here though. As you can see, the loaf's a goddamn horse, so just out of pure stubbornness. Bit of wiggling and jiggling, we got him back up on the roof. He's goddamn professional, that's where he belongs. But yeah, that's about it for today. It's another mission in the bag. What was it called? Service Unavailable. Yeah, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helped. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members. It's a loaf because he's a goddamn beast, and I'll be back soon.